I kind of had my version of red pill chick. And I was like, man, I'm just missing too much here. I'm following the same habits, that Mr. Nice Guy habits and I'm going to be the send you flowers to work guy. I'm going to be the, it's your birthday, let me make sure you have this special thing kind of guy. And no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a little bit of that, but I would just get all into that. Put her first, put the relationship first. And that was a huge thing. It's funny how the more you learn this stuff and you look back at your past, you're like, oh yeah, I see what I screwed up.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Come On Man. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. You know what to do. We do this every week. Drop a comment, your favorite comment or your favorite emoji. Favorite emoji. Gosh, I messed that up more times, I think, than I get it right. Drop your favorite comment, your favorite emoji. It doesn't matter. If you guys are watching during the premiere, then, sound off in the live chat. Sometimes I'm in there, editing videos and stuff like that. And you can also support the show by sending a super chat during these, although it isn't live. But if you guys ever send a super chat during a pre-record like this, I get notifications of that. So I will give you a shout out on social media if you guys do that. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I will send you some free stickers for your troubles. We also have Rule Zero stickers here. Check this out. I just sent some stickers off to one of my 3% brothers, JP. He signed up for the email list. I didn't realize it was him though, because he just put JP, in the on the form. So I mailed it to him, and he got it really quick, and he was like really excited about it. He's like, "Man, this came really fast. What service do you use?" I'm like, "I literally hand packed these and mailed these myself." But the funny thing is that people aren't really that into the stickers. What they're really interested in is the 20 dating app openers they get when they sign up for the email list. So if you sign up for the email list, you get 20 dating app openers that are guaranteed to capture a woman's attention in the first 7 words. Check out my Practical Law of Attraction course, loa.comeonmanpod.com. At the time of, by the time this drops, I will have done an episode, a live stream last Friday on Practical Law of Attraction and how you can use that to deal with trauma. A lot of people are dealing with past traumas that are just holding them back. And this course is all about mindset. It's all about getting your mind right. And once you get your mind right, anything's possible. Everything else tends to fall into place. So check out the course, loa.comeonmanpod.com. Join the beer club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's only $10 a month. You can join a group of like-minded dudes. We have a private Telegram group that, pretty much anything goes in there. There's lots of activity. The guys chat all the time, talk about what they're up to and stuff like that. It's not, necessarily them giving dating advice, but if someone had a question, they could bring it to the group, and the guys could, crowdsource the solution to the problems. That's kind of what the whole group's about. And then once a month we get together and have drinks, like men, like men used to do. Men used to get together in men's clubs and socialize without the women. And people had much healthier relationships back then because they weren't bringing their problems to their women. They were bringing it to the boys. So that's what this group's for. It's only $10 a month. Think of it like a cover charge for your favorite club. You know what I mean? So check that out. And then if you want any kind of coaching, I have coaching available at gumroad.comeonmanpod.com. Actually, if you go to gumroad.comeonmanpod.com, it shows all my offerings. I have a new offering that I've been doing lately on social media where you can, if you have a question that could just be answered in a single video, I have an option in there now where you can basically sponsor a video, and I'll do a quick, short, 1 to 3 minute video on your particular problem. So, you don't have to have full-time coaching if you just have a specific question. So check that out, gumroad.comeonmanpod.com. I've been getting a lot of people doing that lately, because typically what happens is people have just a random question. They don't necessarily want a full-time coach. They just have one specific issue that they want addressed, and they DM me. They DM me all the time on Instagram or Twitter or, even on TikTok. And it's sometimes on Facebook, but usually it's, the Facebook people, I don't know what they're doing over there on Facebook. I don't think most of those guys know that they have a messenger, but yeah, I get a lot of messages on Instagram specifically. And I'm like, hey, sponsor video. And most people are happy to do it, cause it's not, breaking the bank to do that. So check that out. Speaking of beer club though, my guest today is a member of the beer club. Not only that, but he's also a 3% brother. He's probably one of the biggest supporters of the show. It's Nathan Manion. You guys probably see him in the chat pretty much every episode, and he's usually sending a super chat, even if it's like $2, right? He's a very big proponent of the show. He's a part of the beer club. He shows up every beer club, and he's just an all-around solid dude who's taken this material and ran with it and is just having tremendous success with it. The funny thing is, though, I went back and listened to this episode, and God bless, I had the wrong mic selected again. So my mic is terrible. His mic is great. So just be aware of that and just, grit your teeth and bear through that. What's even funnier about that is this was our second try. The first time we met up, his audio and video was really choppy. And so he had to get a hardline connection. So we finally got that done. And then I just went back and listened to it right before recording this. And I'm like, oh my God, I had the wrong mic selected again. This is terrible because for whatever reason, something changed in my Windows settings and the default mic stopped being my MV7 mic. And now it's going to the microphone that's built into the webcam. And so I apologize, but it's not the worst audio ever. At least it's clear and audible and you can hear what I'm saying. Sounds quite a bit like my first year of the podcast where I had like the cheapest USB mic. So if you guys could get through those episodes, you can get through this episode. Anyways, brother Nathan's a good dude. I'll bring you that conversation right after these words from our beer club.
Here's a harsh truth that everybody gets upset about online when I say it. They get upset because of their ego investment into the fairy tale idea of love and partnership. They get upset because of their ego investment into the idea that their woman is their best friend, their confidant, and they think that love will conquer all, and that their woman will be there through thick and thin. The truth is that as a man, your woman is hardwired biologically and psychologically to want you to be her rock. It doesn't work the other way around. Women do not care about your struggles as a man. They may think they care. They may even want to care, but her evolutionary DNA will not let her care. If you bring her your problems, she will lose attraction for you over time, and she will leave. Now, whenever I talk about this, people lose their minds and start talking about men unaliving themselves. The faster that men learn that women don't care about our struggles, the faster we'll save the lives of men. Men off themselves because of their own ego investments in the Disney fairy tale lie. And when that fairy tale goes up in flames, they get zeroed out and they end things. Men do need a proper outlet for dealing with their problems, but going to their woman isn't the answer. Men need a tribe. They need a brotherhood. That's why I created my beer club. It's a monthly virtual hangout for men only. It's a place where men can be men. It's a place where men can talk about guy stuff without having to worry about offending women. It's a place where they can go without having to worry about being called toxically masculine. It's a place where they can go to solve their problems. Because men solve problems, women cause problems, you dig? Visit beer.comeonmanpod.com. That's beer.comeonmanpod.com to sign up.
All right, joining me this week is one of my 3% brothers, Nathan Manion. He's also a Patreon member and a regular supporter of my live streams. Most importantly, he too lives in a rural area and knows that there's no cold approach in the cow pasture. What's going on, man? How's it going?
Hey, man, how's it going? Good to be here.
You know, we were just talking right before this, but this isn't our first time trying to get a podcast recorded, but we tried, what was it, a week or two ago? Yeah. And the audio was just choppy as shit. The video was choppy. And I was like, dude, we can't use this, man. We can't use this. And so you're like, all right, we'll try to figure out how we can get a hard line connection. But you were telling me right before this, though, that's pretty typical out in rural Oklahoma where you're at.
Yeah. So we always call it like the hamster's dead on the wheel out here. So, you know,
Yeah.
the Indian teepees don't get good Wi-Fi. Yeah, so, you know, it'll periodically just dump out here. If you're running multiple streams or trying to do things, you know, Wi-Fi will just crap out. So pro tip, make sure you have a hard connection.
Yeah. So I know the feeling, but the thing is, like, I have fiber where I'm at. Gotcha. Even though I live out in the middle of nowhere, I live out in ranch country, and the nearest real town is like an hour away. We have fiber. We've had fiber out here for the last 7 years or something like that. And I remember getting fiber here, and I work remotely for a company out in California, and the people that I work with, they're like, "You have fiber out there?" Because like, people in San Diego at that time still didn't have fiber.
Right.
I was like, yeah, man, I guess we were early adopters, but so you're still out on, are you guys out on DSL out there? What are you guys on?
So we still run a lot on cable. There's some fiber optics in town, like where my office is. Across the street has a fiber optic connection, but they won't come across the street to like where my office at. So like my office has still got the old cable line modem where they won't come hook you up. So like if you want to pay like $5,000 or $10,000, they'll run it down the alley, but they won't run it to their businesses. So, and then most of the homes are not on fiber optics. So you get the old cable modem. So, you know, the wind blows, a cloud rolls across the sky, and, you know, your internet's out.
Oh man, when I first moved out here, when I first started working remotely, this was 2013. This was right before the divorce, right? We just moved out here. And I've told this story on the podcast before, but the original plan was we were going to move in with my folks who retired out here. That's how we ended up out here in the first place. Moving with my folks while we look for houses over in Denver. And my dad at the time had this line of sight direct Wi-Fi connection for his house. And so they have this tower up on the mesa. And as long as your roof has line of sight, you get internet. And it's okay. It's pretty good. It works most of the time. But yeah, if it's a cloudy day, if it's like blizzarding out, like it really screws with that signal, and it's like I have to periodically tell my boss, like, hey, I got no internet again. And finally I had to convince my dad, like, hey, we have to at least get cable internet in here because I can't keep my job this way. That's my IT director's backup plan. He's like, because the home office is across the street. Yeah. He's like, we can put an antenna on the second story, and as long as we have line of sight, we can beam a signal over to you. And I'm like, that's the backup plan. That's the best we got out here, is to beam a signal across the street. Yeah. Well, you know, some of those, if the buildings are close enough, it's fine. I learned all about this in college. Like those directional antennas are pretty good if you're just doing building to building. But my parents' internet was literally like miles away, you know? So it's like, this is not reliable internet service. Right. So, all right. I know I have my nerd glasses on, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're not talking about nerd shit. That's all right. Somebody learned something about bumming Wi-Fi signals off somewhere. Right. How to break web encryption. That's old school shit. Like we don't use this web anymore because it is pretty easy to break. I used to have a YouTube channel years ago called Tech Chop, and I have an episode on cracking Wi-Fi and stuff like that. I was such a fat piece of shit nerd back then. Anyway, so let's talk about you here. Let's talk about you. So, sure. What led you to first read How to Be a 3% Man? Because you're in the 3% Brotherhood group, so you had to have read the book. Yeah. So I've read it 15 or 16 times now. Oh, did you get your diploma? Yeah, right. I posted that one time in the group when I finished up my 15th read. I'm like, I finished number 15. I'm waiting for my Corey Wayne diploma in the mail. I'm still waiting. Still waiting. You're like on 22 or whatever, so you know you can you can get the gold edition. Yeah. But I went through started going through a divorce in 2019, right during the pandemic time. I don't think the pandemic had anything to do with it, but it's just timing of it. That's a lot of people went through divorce during the pandemic, because it's like a lot of people all of a sudden were forced to be with each other, and like they hated each other, you know. And it's like now all the shit's coming down.
It was good. It was good business for divorce attorneys. They made bank.
For sure.
So started going through a divorce in that process, and it went on for about 3 years. The divorce did. A lot of custody battle, a lot of extreme accusations. In family court, and I don't want to go way off on a tangent here, but in family court, you're incentivized to exaggerate from a female perspective anything that you can. And so like here, there's special programs that they will actually even pay for your attorney's fees and everything. And all you have to do is say, hey, during an argument one time, I felt threatened.
Yeah.
And
I was really scared because he was raising his voice, because no one ever fucking raises their voice, right?
In an argument, you never raise your voice. And I was married for 17 years.
Yeah.
So in 17 years, did you ever have an argument where you raised your voice? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
17 years, 3 kids. There's, some stuff happened, things were said in that time frame. But so, yeah, anything you can say to say, oh, I felt this or I felt that. And it's hard for me because I'm a big guy. I'm 6'6". So it's like automatically it's like, oh, look, and I'm just loud by
dude,
nature.
Do you have 6-pack abs?
not cool. I got the top 4 going, but I can't those.
Man, once you get those bottom 2, you're creaming the crap already, man.
Don't you know all you have to do is be tall. That's
just tall and the abs though, right?
Well, yeah, tall, abs, and you're set. You don't have to do any work after that. That's all you need.
No, that's it.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I could get a date is because I'm tall. Well, not because I spent 3 years of hard work to get where I'm at. No, it's just because I'm tall.
Yeah. No, we all know.
Yeah. So, anyways, going through that process was pretty brutal, and custody, kids arrangements, trying to go through all that. At one point in time, I'd lost access to the kids, and my middle son is calling me because they won't tell him what's going on, and it's just a brutal process, and we could spend a whole episode probably just talking about that process. But and in that process, my oldest son, he would be 18 this August. We lost him. He had a coronary pulmonary edema, and I'm butchered that, but basically it's where your heart short circuits out. Like if you think about like a power surge, just like that, lights out, boom. Wow. His mom went to wake him up and got no response. And I'm at work. I get a knock on the door, go to the front door. 3 police officers are standing there. They say, the chaplain, they say, Mr. Manion, we need you to sit down. And I'm like, oh, your mind starts racing because it's like, and this is the chaplain. So you're trying to think of everything like my parents, what happened. And then they say, hey, I tell you what happened. I was sitting in a chair and I just fell forward onto the floor. It was a, pretty intense.
That's devastating.
Moment.
Yeah. So he was 18 and this was after,
he would be
the divorce.
Yeah, it was after the divorce just started in the middle of the process. He would be 18 this next month.
Oh, so he would be 18. Okay.
Yeah, it was 16. He was 16 when it happened. So.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Yeah, healthy, 16-year-old, and
was that a genetic thing on one of your guys' sides, or it was just a fluke type thing?
As best as it's explained to me, is it's a fluke. It's just 1 in a billion thing that happens.
Yeah.
He was at that age where he's 16, he knows everything. Dad doesn't know anything. Mom doesn't know anything. And he was, see if I can say it, big into the jab. Maybe that's a better way to say it. And, so like a month and a half after his second jab is when it happened. So I'm going to have my own conspiracy theories on it, but that's,
You think try to say it so that YouTube doesn't take it down.
You
think it's related somehow to the jizzab.
To the jizzab.
Yeah, it's so sad that we can't even talk about it though.
Right. Yeah. I don't want you to get canceled, so I was trying to be careful about how I say it. But you got a healthy 16-year-old male that goes to bed healthy, and his heart short circuits out with no other previous heart issues and no hereditary issues in the family. As far as for that type of condition. So, it gets your mind as a parent, that doesn't really matter what the answer is, right? It doesn't change the outcome.
Ends the same. Yeah.
Right. So, you got to get over it and live past it. So, that happened in the middle of the divorce process. And then the divorce went on, for another year before it finally got finalized after that. So 2.5, almost 3 years of battle. And it was kind of funny because I would tell my attorneys, I'd be like, okay, we have a court date set. We're a week out. We know something's going to happen. We don't know what it is. They're going to come up with a new allegation, a new accusation to postpone it. And that happened and it was like clockwork. 2-3 days, every single time before court, boom, something else new would come out. And so that drug on. I just to be preemptive about it, I went and did they do like this psychological evaluations. So I went through a whole psych eval. I wasn't court ordered to do it. I did it myself. I went through a whole forensic eval. I was polygraph tested, whole process just to make sure. Because after the first allegation, I told my attorneys, there's going to be a bunch more. I know how she works, so we need to be prepared. So we went through this whole process to have all this evidence stacked. I mean, I had DHS come through my house to do 4 or 5 different inspections. They knew me on first name basis. They'd knock on the door and I'd be like, come on in, Yeah. And I was open and transparent, and every single thing was proven false. But it's just a good weapon to use because it takes time and energy and money away from you, because you got to go through the whole thing to go clear it, and they got to do an investigation that takes 60 days, and then then you get another court date set, and just a good way to.
All that's. Have you ever seen the documentary? I think it's Divorce Inc. I think it's called.
Yep.
And they basically talk about how all of that stuff, having someone come in and representing the kid.
Yep.
Right. But that attorney is basically working for the opposition's attorney, and they can charge you whatever they want, and you can't ask them for itemized lists because, hey, that's attorney-client privilege, and they just. It's all bullshit. And I didn't have to do all that. Luckily, the biggest fight I had with my ex-wife was custody of the kids, right? Like what I wanted 50-50.
Yep.
She wanted full custody. And then how much money alimony I had to pay her, right? Like that was really the big thing. She was really trying to get the max.
Yeah.
And so I had to pay something like $700 to have a vocational assessment done on her, just so that I have this paperwork showing no, she can get a job, you know, she's qualified to work and not make, minimum wage. And, and it's sad that you have to go through all that stuff because it's not innocent till proven guilty in the family court system.
No, in the family court system, when you walk in there, unfortunately, and I know they're making some changes, but yeah, you're kind of guilty until you prove that you're innocent. As a father, you have to prove your qualification as a parent.
Yeah. As
a mom, and especially in the rural states, I mean, they got to catch you with a needle in your arm, for anybody to really do anything about it. And that's just kind of the way it is. They're seeing some changes. The fathers' rights movement is a good group. They push a lot of legislation. Missouri just passed a law this year for 50-50 is the starting point. Arkansas did last year. About 5 or 6 states now that have 50-50 is the starting point. There's no argument unless you can prove some, massive abuse issue and it has to be proven. That's what you get. So there's nothing to argue about that. So
I think that's a good rule, 50-50 defaults unless there's some kind of abuse that can be proven, or one parent just can't do 50-50, right? Because out here, it's probably the same out where you're at. There's a lot of people where the men work in the oil fields.
Yep.
So a lot of times these guys are gone. They're just gone 6 months of the year. You can't do 50-50 when you're gone half the year. You know, it just doesn't work. So, sometimes there's guys that are in those types of professions,
right? And
they just don't get awarded the custody that they want. And it's just like, well, what do you expect? But yeah, if you have a normal, 9-to-5 job and you're home all the time, there's zero reason why it shouldn't be 50-50,
Yeah, and 50-50 is where I wanted. I didn't care about materialistic things. I'm not going to fight over a couch or a refrigerator. I mean, who cares about that crap? I'll go, I wasn't really that concerned about money. I know how to make money. I can make money again. It's not a big deal. I wasn't going to fight over the house or equity. None of that stuff really mattered to me. But time with the kids was really important, and I didn't have a problem paying fair child support. I mean, I was a vastly larger earner for our entire marriage, so I understood there was going to be a disparity, even no matter what. So I didn't have a problem with that. I ended up, the custody split's very strange. So our middle son, he lives with me all the time. He goes and sees his mom a couple of times a month, maybe 12 hours a month total. And I get to see my daughter some on the weekends, every other weekend. Not nearly as much as I want, but it is kind of how it worked out.
Are those your only 2 remaining kids then?
Yeah. My son's 16, my daughter's 12. So
daughter lives with mom most of the time, and son lives with you. How did that end up that way?
It is a crazy thing. You mentioned earlier about the kids having attorneys. The guardian ad litems is what we call them here. I assume that's what everywhere else is. But my son was such a proponent to wanting to stay with me and live with me that he voiced that concern to the judge and to the guardian ad litem, and to anybody who would listen. And he talked to them privately, so it wasn't like I'm over here coaching them or anything like that. I mean, they did that all. He, had his own. He had his own counselor, own therapist, already set up, so I could be like, hey, he's already been talking to them for 2 years now, whatever, so that they could speak on his behalf as well. And that gave him a decision. My daughter, they utilized her some for some of the allegation junk. They just couldn't get my middle son to agree. He's like, that never happened. And he would tell them, that's crazy, that those things never happen. And my daughter would just shut down. She would just, freak out. She couldn't say anything. She would just shut down completely. And so they're just like, okay, well, we'll let her go here and kind of do that way. It's a really confusing split, but at the end of the day, that was just kind of the proposed terms, and it wasn't like it was going to change or get any better. And after 3 years, I'm like, listen, my daughter was 8 when this started. She's getting ready to turn 12. My son was 13 years old when it started. He's driving a truck now. So it's like, at some point in time, you just got to be like, all right, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to survive. I'm going to move on and just go on.
Yeah. I think sometimes guys get to a point where they just are like, okay, I just need to know how we're going to move forward.
Exactly.
And then you just deal with it. And hopefully, when the kids are adults and, they, go on their own path, find their own self-help stuff, and then go back and reach out, and you can sort of rekindle things later. That's like sometimes, unfortunately, that's the best you can hope for in these situations,
You're spot on. And again, after 3 years and tens of thousands of dollars and, countless amount of hours into it, it's just like, all right, I need to be able to move forward with my life. I got my son. Him and I are going to be solid. He's a best teenager you could ask for. Him and I have a fantastic relationship. We're solid. I'm going to get time with my daughter. I'm going to make sure I bring that positive influence whenever I have her. And, at the end of the day, that's, we're going to move forward with this and go on with life.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a reality. That's like modern, relationships nowadays. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Once we sort of learn this stuff, we learn how to pick women better. We learn how to lead relationships better. But Jesus Christ, dude, I had no idea what I was doing when I got married. No. How old were you when you got married?
Yeah, great question. I got married 2 months before my 19th birthday.
Oh, dude.
My oldest son was born the day before my 21st birthday.
Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, I thought mine was bad. I thought mine was bad, dude. I got married at 20. And I wasn't old enough to buy the alcohol for the reception. My now ex-wife was 3 years older than me though, so she bought all the alcohol.
My ex-wife is 3 years older than me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, how retarded were we, right? Like,
it's funny because like my grandparents on both sides got married when they were 18. My grandpa and grandma on my dad's side, like, he signed her out of high school when they ran away together when she was like 17 and he was 18.
Yeah.
My dad,
all these romantic stories like that.
Yeah, my mom and dad got married at 18, so it's just all my family is all, it's like, all right, I just grew up hearing that stuff. So it didn't really sink in at the time. Looking back, I'm like, if I could go back and slap my 18-year-old self around, I would, I wouldn't have listened though.
No. And that's what my upcoming book's all about all the stuff I wish I knew, but I wouldn't have listened.
No.
Yeah, especially that, man. Because I was in a similar situation, like it wasn't that like my parents were all eloping and my grandparents did that, but my parents got married a little bit later in life. I think my dad was 29, my mom was 28, and so how girls start getting when they're like, start reaching that epiphany phase. And so my mom was realizing that, she wasn't getting any younger. And so my parents, I think they were only together for like 3 months before my dad proposed or something stupid. They're still together, but they're fucking miserable. I talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
And another thing too was that when I was in high school, my parents were kind of old, they were like in their mid to late 40s when I was in high school. And I just felt like they had no idea what it was like being a teenager, and they couldn't relate to me, and we just butted heads all the time. And so I was like, no, I'm going to have my kids younger so that when my kids are teenagers, like I'll have a better understanding of what it's like. Now that I'm older, I don't think it fucking matters. It's just that my parents, they didn't want to look at reality. You know what I mean? Like They were doing the same dumb shit that I was doing when I was in high school, but they were like, oh, we're just going to clamp down on him so it doesn't happen. Like that doesn't work.
Nope.
Like you gotta look at what you were doing as a teenager and why you were avoiding talking to your parents about stuff. And it was like, oh, it's because they threatened me with punishment if I came to them with anything. So why would I go to them? So I didn't do that with my kids. And my daughter, she's doing great. She just graduated high school. She's not pregnant. I think I did my job. Thank you, internet. Simple goals. But yeah, man, like, so if I could, I was really just like rushing towards that white picket fence though. Like I just was, in high school, I had like 2 major girlfriends in high school. Those relationships lasted 6 months or 7 months. I think I talked about that in my Batman origin story episode. That was a long-term relationship for me, right? 6 months or 7 months was like forever in high school. And I thought I was going to marry both girls, like I was just that romantic guy that was like every relationship I had. Oh, she's the one. She's the one. And man, I was rushing for that white picket fence, and God bless what a mistake that was, and it's not like, marriage by itself is fine. I wouldn't do it again, but you have no idea what you're doing, like
none, zero. You're an 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old idiot. Every guy out there, I'm sorry, if you're 18 to 20 years old, you're an idiot. There is so much you don't know. You cannot comprehend how much you don't know.
You're just a walking erection at that age.
You're just an idiot. Exactly. Yeah. My son's 16. Like I said, he's a great kid, but every once in a while I'll be like, listen, you're 16, buddy. The amount of wars and battles I've fought in my lifetime, you can't comprehend what I'm trying to tell you. But he's a great, and I have rules for him. I'm like, dating rules, advice rules. I'm like, talk about, wait until you're 25 before you even try to get a serious girlfriend. Like, don't worry about girls. Don't do any of that kind of stuff. I've got this whole thing I preach to him all the time. And, he seems to have it down pretty well.
I only have 3 rules for my kids. Let's see if I can remember them. It's be a good listener.
Yep.
Think before you act, and do what I tell you to do the first time.
That's it. Go.
If I ever lose my shit at my kids, it's because they violated one of those 3 rules.
That's right. 3 house rules. Pretty simple.
That's it. And when they were really little, and when we first got split up, I had those rules like printed out in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then if I lost my shit at them, I would be like, go in your room and read the rules.
Read your rules.
Go read the rules. And then like, I just have them sit in their room and read the rules. And then after I had time to chill out, I'd go in there and be like, okay, which one of these rules did you not follow here? Yeah. And I tried to do that kind of thing because my dad was a dick, man. My dad was, he would like blow up at me. Like he was having a bad day, just completely lose his shit at me, not even apologize for it, and it was just like, I have no idea what I did wrong, and he never sat down and talked to me like, okay, this is why, this is why I lost my shit. I shouldn't have lost my shit, but this is why, So I tried to do better, that's all we can do,
right? That's all we can do. Try to do better. Yeah. So in the process of going through, back to kind of how I found this stuff is in the process of going through that, I kind of had my version of red pill chick, in that. And I was like, man, I'm just missing too much here. Like I'm following the same habits, that Mr. Nice Guy, habits and I'm gonna be the, send you flowers to work guy. I'm gonna be the, oh, it's your birthday, let me make sure you have this special thing kind of guy. And no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a little bit of that, but I would just get all into that, like, put her first, put the relationship first. And that was a huge thing. It's funny how the more you learn this stuff and you look back at your past, you're like, oh yeah, I see what I screwed up.
Yeah.
Like, because it's all about holding yourself accountable and looking at what you did wrong. And you can look back and be like, yeah, I totally screwed that up. I've lost total frame. In my marriage, I lost total frame. It was all, happy wife, happy life. That was like the mantra printed in my brain. And okay, well, I won't go hang with the guys because, you don't want me to, or I won't go to the gym because, that takes time away from you, or, I won't go, whatever. And you just put her first all the time. And then you look back and you're like, man, I was such an idiot. Like the more of the stuff, as I learned, I'm like, God, I was such an idiot.
Yeah.
I was just, trying hard, but just in the wrong direction.
Oh yeah. Same dude. Same. So so after the divorce, or at least the separation, you started dating another chick, and that was your red pill chick.
Yes. Yeah. So then in that process, I was like, I'm going to start listening. So I started watching some TikToks, and I got, Retired Goat. And
so I haven't heard from that guy in forever.
I deleted all my TikTok stuff a long time ago, so I don't pay attention to TikTok anymore.
Yeah,
but
he disappeared off the fucking planet because he was doing stuff for the military. Like I think he was training SEALs or something. And so he had to like get off all of TikTok and go focus on that for a while. And then he was also working on his master's. I still have his cell phone number. I should ping him.
Yeah,
to see what
I got his book and read his book. And
which edition? I have his first edition. It's trash.
First edition.
I mean, it's good. The information's good, but there's a lot of like typos and all that stuff.
Yeah. I got the first, red hot edition, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll get him to sign it one of these days. So, I kind of started watching this stuff. That's about the time that your first TikTok account got banned.
Okay.
He's like, hey, go follow my buddy Paul. And I was like, all right. So I clicked on that and I started watching, like, at that time, I'm like, family court is garbage. The system is rigged against everybody. This is all crap. I started, and I love Black Scatter Guy advice, but
I still keep in contact with BSG. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude. But some of the other guys in more of his space, you start getting down that rabbit hole, and it's not a real pleasant place to go. I like Chuck Daddy. He's hilarious. I don't necessarily agree with his lifestyle choices, but that's his business. But he's a fun guy. And so, like, okay, those guys are cool. But then there's some other guys in that area that push a lot of toxic material. And so it's like, I'm gonna, so I started thinking, well, I'm gonna hold everybody accountable. I mean, I'm gonna hold women accountable. I'm gonna hold everybody accountable, and they're like, well, women are held accountable. They have bosses and jobs. That's not how it works. Okay. You can't hold women accountable, guys. Just understand that right now. Bosses do not hold women accountable. Okay. There is always, there's no accountability. That is not how it works. So,
especially if they're hot. They're getting passes left and right. They get job offers just because they have tits. That's just the way it is, and you're not going to change that,
And so I kind of went a little bit that direction, and I was like, and this is not me. This is negative. Like, this is not how I really view the world. And so I, started finding more of your content. You recommended, 3% Man. You're doing like one of your jogs, and you're like quoting something from Corey's book, and you're out running with your headphones on. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll get into that. And so, Dr. Glover's books, No More Mr. Nice Guy and Dating Essentials for Men. Your Dating Essentials for Men, I probably got at least 12 reads into. Atomic Attraction, I've read 10, 12 times. So I've kind of, made the same Trinity kind of my core. And then I've read a bunch of other books, down the list too, that were really important. And so I started getting into that space a little bit more. And the real thing that people, and you say it all the time, is it makes your life so much better. That's the key. Mm-hmm. Like I was working on, mental health, emotional health before, like when the divorce first started, but getting into more the material and understanding things, not just women's nature, but just nature and everyone's nature in general. It makes you better at work. It makes you better with your boss. It makes you better with people you interact with. It makes you better with your friends. Your life changes exponentially when you understand more of this. I mean, the red pill gets a lot of negative condensation from it because like, oh, it's just, fashion. It's not a religion. It's not a cult, right? Yeah. It's just an understanding. It's just being awake to kind of what the world is and what it isn't, and how you can utilize that, and how you can let go of outcomes, of expectations, and just say, okay, this is what it is. This is what it cannot be. And you're going to enjoy things so much better. It's so freeing when you're like, this is just how it is, female nature. This is what female nature is. This is what female nature can't be. So stop trying to make it something that's not. Yeah. And, when you learn to, hey, you're just a better, happier person to be around, your life gets so much better when you put that ROI investment into yourself. Your ROI when you're investing in yourself is so much better. And what's that saying? Like, you'll always lose money chasing women, but you'll never lose women chasing money. You will never be disappointed that you took that time to invest in yourself. Mentally, emotionally, and physically, I'm stronger today than I've ever been in my life. And it's like my life got exponentially better. And a lot of that's just really understanding this material and going through the growth process that it takes.
Yeah. One of the things that I found that I started doing a lot better outside of women, but it applied, was being more direct on setting plans with people.
Yeah.
Like for instance, if I'm going to set a meeting up at work, I'm like, we're having this meeting at noon.
Yep.
Right. Before it's like, well, when can we do that? It's like you get all this wishy-washy shit, and you find that if you start being more direct with the stuff, and people appreciate that more. You talked about me running. I was out running today, and I one of my Patreon guys, one of my premium Patreon guys, he was really down in the dumps the other day, and he's just like, man, I'm just so tired of this, whatever. And I was just like, dude, you need to snap out of this shit. You need to be your own hype man. You need to figure out how to hype yourself up. And so I was just, when I'm out running, like my thoughts are free to sort of wander on shit. And I just had this epiphany, like, dude, what did you do? What did you do after Red Pill Chick that really helped you sort of build your confidence and stuff? And I was like, I ran a fucking marathon. I set a goal to run a marathon. And I was like, you know what? Guys do so much better when they set a goal to do something fucking challenging. And you don't have to win the marathon. You don't have to be like first place, but most people can't run a marathon. 1% of the population can run a marathon. I'm like, I finished that shit,
Yep.
Just finishing, that's one of those participation trophies that's like acceptable, I think, like, dude, so I immediately stopped running, and I sent a message to this guy. I was like, dude, you need to figure out like something that you can do. You don't have to run a marathon, but you need to find something challenging that you can set a goal for, that when you succeed at it, you'll be like, holy fuck, I did that.
Yeah. Spot on.
Yeah. Because guys need stuff like that. And you only sort of get to that conclusion when you study this stuff, guys need that adversity and goals and achieving those goals. And that's what gives them the confidence,
And you're in a big part of that is really finding something physical. I mean, it's hard to be depressed when you're at the gym. Or you're going for a run, or maybe you're playing basketball, or you like to swim, whatever it is. I'm a big proponent of, group sports are important, but really find an activity that's just you and your mind against pushing your physical. Like, for instance, running. If you're like, okay, I'm going to run this pace for this long, and I'm going to set my mind to it. and I'm really going to focus on that, or lifting. I got back into lifting during the divorce process. And, I really focused on I want to do the 1200 club, which is 3 lifts, 1200 pounds. You get a bench press, deadlift, and squat. Obviously, if you can break up and do 4-4-4, 400 pounds each, one of those, you get your 1,200 pounds. I can't do a 400 pound bench press, but so but you break that up, and that was a great way for me to focus, because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna focus on lifting these weights. I'm going to focus on getting stronger. I'm going to focus on getting to this goal. And the only thing stopping me there doing that is when your mind says, oh, let's not do it today, or let's quit today, or you get those self-limiting beliefs, those executive board members in your head, like Dr. Glover talks about, and you silence them and say, oh, I can, and you push through that, and you train your mind to push through that discomfort. I mean, you're a runner, there's plenty of times your body's like, screw you, I don't want to go another mile, and you're like, no, and you set that pace, or, you're running that time and you're pushing through that. My son and I, we do a 5K, and for you runners, a 5K is a joke, right? It's like,
that's a warm up.
That's a warm up.
Yeah.
It's a warm up. And so, we'll compete in our age groups every year for it. And it's just something fun. So it's in the summer, we switch our training over. I switch my training over from lifting to running, and I'm not a runner. I don't enjoy necessarily running, but I enjoy the process of it. And I'm like, I enjoy watching myself get faster, get better at it. And then I always tell myself, like, why do I quit running? Like, I love going for a run in the evening time. Not so much around the humid Oklahoma where it's 100 degrees with 95 freaking humidity out there, and you're sweating to death. I'm sweating, I'm soaking through my shirt, and I'm like, I like this. Why don't I run more often? I fucking hated running when I first started doing it. And it was really Red Pill Chick that got me into running. And the thing is that I got really into running, and she was the kind of chick that, like, that was her thing. And so now I got better at it than her. And now she's just she quit, and it was just like, she was so competitive that way. But it was just like, well, fuck you, I'm better at it, so I kept doing it. It's my thing now. And now I absolutely love doing it. And it's funny because I was running today. I went to go drop my car off to get work done. And I was like, I used that as an opportunity to go on my run. Cause I'm like, well, I got to be down here for an hour anyway. I might as well go for my run. And so I dropped it off, and I was like, well, I'm going to go on my run. And I left, come back. It was like a 5-mile run. Yeah. And the lady called me in the middle of the run to ask, say, oh, you need this and this done. You want it done? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll be back. I'm out running. And she's like, okay. And I get back, and I'm drenched in sweat. But I'm not breathing hard and stuff. And she's like, how far did you run? And I was like, 5 miles. And she goes, you're not even breathing heavy. And I go, no. Like, I saw one of your posts where you're like, oh, my leisurely pace. Like you went
I was just fucking around with Glenn though.
You went like 5.6 or whatever it was miles. It's like my leisurely little pace. I'm like, I hate you, Paul.
Yeah. I was just like, it's just a warm up. Yeah. But you know what? When I was doing marathons, that was a warm up. It got to the point where we were doing these like 14-mile runs on the weekend. So just doing like 6 miles or 7 miles was easy. Yeah. And so by the time it was marathon time, and when you're running, 26 miles or whatever, it's like, 10 miles is nothing, at that point. But yeah, man, I'll never do that again. That was talk about pain, dude. Like after I was done, like I could barely walk when it was done. Yeah. But I did it. Like I finished. I didn't quit. So
right. I mean, you push through it, and you can always say that, right? No, like you said, how many people can say they did a marathon, right? You can always say that.
Yeah. So, that's so important though. Like, there's a big emphasis in the Red Pill space on lifting. And I'm like one of the few guys out there that I'm like, lift's good, but if you don't like lifting, because some guys don't, right? I'm like, just fucking do something physical, go, if you really like bike riding, go be a bike rider, be the next Lance Armstrong,
Yep. Yeah, you've got to find something that you can be consistent at, something that you enjoy doing. If you hate lifting, you're not going to do it. It's like if you hate running, I mean, now you might get into it and like a little better, but find things that you like to do: bike, swim, play racquetball, pickle. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Find things that you enjoy doing, and then that can be your basis. And you can always build off that and try different things. Maybe you want to lift, maybe you want to run, maybe you want to, like you change it up. You did the DDP yoga, mix it up, do some different things. Sure, do that. But you're always going to have that base thing that you enjoy doing, that no matter what, you can get up anytime and go do that. Find those things, and you'll be able to stick with it for a lot longer. You'll make that part of your discipline. And when it becomes part of your discipline, you can stick with your routine. Build that routine. Find the things. I like to lift. I like the hurt. I like to be, rep 9 and my arms are screaming and says, quit, don't go another one. And then you just get those last couple reps, and you throw some cheater reps in there, and then maybe you drop it to a different set, and you do some different reps at a different angle, and you push that body, and your body's screaming to stop, and you find another couple reps somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I love doing that. And I love pushing through that pain and feeling that burn and that hurt, and being able to get to that burn stage in reps and just hold that as long as you can, but I'm crazy like that.
Well, it's good. It's good crazy though. When it comes to running, one thing that, so I have a running partner, sort of. She's been very, very fucking flaky lately, mainly because it's been hotter as shit here. And she's like, I can't, what does she say? It fucking destroys my soul when it's like that hot out. And I'm just like, suck it up, bitch, but anyway, Tyrene, that's her name. Tyrene, she, when we go running, by the time we're near the end, she just wants to quit. She just wants it to be over. And I always pull this bullshit where I call it space time. I go, space time, Tyrene. We got to go space time. And she's like, no, not space time. I go to fucking space time. And it's like, I'm dead, but I'm pushing myself to sprint. And I want to sprint the last little leg. And I call it space time because if you ever watch the Justice League movie, especially if you watch the one where I think it's the Snyder version of it. But have you seen it?
I have not. No.
Okay. Well, spoiler then. But so don't listen. Don't listen. So there's near the end, the bad guys win, right? So they go to blow up the entire world, and fucking Flash, like, this is his chance to be a big superhero.
Big hero, yeah.
Right? So he fucking gets all ready, and then he goes so fucking fast that he breaks the space-time barrier and reverses time.
Yep.
So when I say space-time to Tyrene, that's what I mean. Like, we're going to go so fucking fast right now that we're going to break the space-time continuum. And she's just like, you're fucking stupid.
Didn't you have that run with Nurse Chick, and you're like close to the finish line or whatever, and you're like, pull her along the finish line, like, we're gonna get here, and pull her. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's not a runner. She's a bodybuilder. Yep. And so she goes to the gym, and she's in great shape. I posted a picture of her abs the other day. You can, I can wash my shirt on her abs right now. It's beautiful. But she's not a runner, right? So she doesn't do the cardio, but she agreed to do a 5K mud run with me this year. And we ran it, and I ran it at her pace. So we weren't doing space time or nothing stupid, but we got down to the end, and it was about 20 yards to the finish line. And I was like, we're doing space time now. And she did not want to do space time. And I just grabbed her hand. I was like, it's right fucking there. And I just drug her across the finish line. Yeah, you got to do that sometimes,
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, right?
But she signed up when we were at my Desert Rat 6K race. She signed up. She signed up for the Desert Rat 6K next year. So we're in, and she's got to start training because it's not 6. It's a 10K race. Yeah. Oh, man. 6 miles, 10K. She's never ran that fucking far before. So after her bodybuilding competition, she's going to start training for running.
Yeah. And when she can actually eat carbs again.
Well, she could do it now. Her trainers actually want her to eat carbs, but her body does better on keto. So she sort of disregards them. and still does the keto thing, and that pisses him off, but whatever. Some people aren't on board with the keto thing, but it works for us. Works good for us.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. Man, we went off on some tangents here. I had a whole bunch of questions I didn't even get to. Let's see. let's
good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, let's get back to this. So when you were talking about 3% man and looking back on things and you're realizing like, oh crap, I did that wrong. Like every time I read the first sort of opening chapter of 3% man, and he asks, has this ever happened to you? Has a ever said this to you? I'm always just going, yes, yes, fuck, yeah. Every time. And still, 21st read, every time I listen to that, I go, yep, that's happened. So that being said, what was the last aha moment reading 3% man?
Yeah, for me, it's just really, really good reminders. It's like little things like, oh yeah, you know what, stay off the phone. It's so easy to get. I think that's probably the last time I went through it is like, I know it's a little thing, but it's like, it's so easy to be on your phone. It's so easy to text or say something back. And it's like, next thing you know, you look down and you get like a stream of like text messages and you're like, oh, God. Yep. And so I as soon as I got to that part in the book, I was like, yep. Mm-hmm. I got to call myself out on that. I've gotten lazy. Yeah. I gotten lazy over here where it's just like, I feel like I got the stuff on lock sometimes and you get in cruise control and you're like, oh, text back.
Are you in a relationship now or
no?
Or you're just spinning plates or what?
Spinning plates when it works. I mean, like we said earlier, when you get this of building a better life, Dr. Glover calls it building a great cake of a life, mm-hmm. But what's cake without icing?
Yeah.
I prefer the sundae analogy. You got your hot fudge and your ice cream and your nuts and your chocolate, and it's like the whipped cream cherry on top. Like a relationship can be wonderful, but I've also got a great life set up. My son and I, we do all kinds of fun stuff together. We travel, we do places. I've got him for a couple more years before he goes off to college. He's a big soccer player, so we're traveling around doing that stuff, and we love to hunt, fish, be outdoors, camp, and so I built a really great life. Mm-hmm. That it's like, okay, well, if I'm not driving hard. So yeah, I spin plates. I've got a couple, girls that I date or talk to right now. And if that falls off and it's like, okay, do I want to build the pipeline back up again? I will, but I'm also not in a hurry. I don't mean to sound egotistical about it, but I've gotten at the point where understanding how the numbers and stuff work and how to put it together. It's like, okay, if I want to build that pipeline back up, I used to do insurance sales for a little while. And like, I learned really quickly how to build your network and your pipeline up and how to keep those leads and stuff flowing. And so you just kind of take that same principle and extrapolate those rules. Like you talked about your direct selling before. Mm-hmm. And, if you can, you just take that, it's the same scenario. I mean, yeah. I pulled it up. Yeah. I pulled it up and I was like, okay, I haven't been on Tinder in a little while. Like what's my likes? I've got 70 likes and I've got 5 or 6 likes over here on the other one, 5 or 6 likes on a different one, 5 or 6 likes over here on the Facebook one. I was like, okay, I got 95 leads right now. If I really want to go, like, do I really want to work that and make a time? Sure. And you know how it is. Like, I mean, I'm not going to break down the numbers, but you get your leads and you get your responses and a girl responds and you get a conversation going. You start breaking it all down. Like, okay, there's like 5 date potentials here. Like, yeah.
That's what guys get frustrated with the most, though, is it's like it's a sales funnel, which means mm-hmm. you're not going to get every fucking sale. You're just not. And but you're not going to get any sales if you don't talk to all these people, Yep. So you're just sort of whittling it down to the people that are willing to buy.
Yep.
And that's all it is. And so, but every guy, when they talk to chicks online, they're like, she's the one. She's the fucking one. She's the one. It's like, no, none of them are the one yet.
None of them are the one. Don't get one-itis. There's no such thing as the one. Don't get the sniper mentality. And build, if you really want to build a portfolio or build a rotation of plates, you can do that if you really want to do it and work it. I mean, the stuff, as Dr. Glover says, the stuff works if you work it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you understand the material enough and you go out there and work it, and you've got some, you got a good profile, and you got some good picks, and you got some good openers, and you can hold a conversation, and you learn to look for those open doors. Like if it's just not there and it's the conversation you're trying to pull ditch and move on.
Yeah.
Find the ones that are high interest. Oh, hey, let me send you my Snap. Let me send you my Facebook. Let me send you this. Let me give you my number. And without even asking for it, or even like, hey, can I get your number? And you get like, here's all my contact stuff. Oh, great. Yeah. That's open doors, guys. Like that's that's
most girls don't just do that. Like she's not just being nice.
Yeah, I mean.
Here's my mom's number just in case I'm not available. It's like.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You want me to be able to get in contact with you. I get it. Yeah.
Corey says that in his book. If she's giving you her Snap and her Facebook address and her Instagram stories, and here's my number and here's my work number, and okay, that's a high level of interest. If you're like, can I get your number? Well, I don't really give my number out. Okay. You know what? No problem. I understand. But that's kind of a closed door. Move on. If you've bannered back, 10, 15, 20 times, whatever, and you go for that number and you get that kind of response, then move on. The low interest, don't pound on that closed door. There's plenty of other, the bus there at 15, even out here in rural county, you still get a bus. There's still buses. Yeah,
there's buses. They're commuter buses. So let's talk about that. So there's no cold approach to the cow pasture. Are you in a city, or are you like out in the outskirts? You said you're in a small town, right?
Yes. So, I mean, town's like 11,000 people.
Okay. So the dating pool is pretty shallow where you're at, or?
Dating pool is shallow. Like there's no such thing as a singles bar out here.
Yeah.
There's not really any, there's bars inside the casinos. We have a lot of Indian casinos.
Oh, okay.
So there's bars inside a casino there, but if you're going into the Indian casino at 8:00 to pick up some girls, man, you got to really change your standards.
Yeah.
They might be on oxygen,
right.
And, got a walker. Okay.
Yeah. So my area out here is largely like a retirement area. Mm-hmm. There's people my age and younger out here, but they all commute for work.
Yeah.
So they're never around town. And anytime I go out, it's always old people, and there's no cold approach. And when I was, the first time I was single, there was absolutely no place to go, right? I did eventually find a bar. It's called CB's, and I go and meet up with 3% brother Matt down there every once in a while. CB's is pretty cool. If you ever go to Delta, go to CB's. CB's is a pretty cool bar. And one night, some chick invited me there, and it was like Halloween. Right. And so it was fucking off the chains. Right. And I'm like, Oh my God, I finally found the place. I finally found where it's happening, where I can meet people. I go back the next week, absolutely fucking dead.
Yep.
Right. And that's just how it is in small rural towns. Like there might be one night where some place is off the chains, and then the rest of the year it's not. There was a place like that this second time on the dating circuit after Red Pill Chick. And I went to this town called Hotchkiss. And Hotchkiss, there was a place there called, what the fuck was it? I can't remember. It was some kind of pizza and arcade place. And it was a bar. It was a bar, and they had an arcade in the back. You could play darts there and stuff like that. And I went there during the week of the county fair. And of course, like that's when it was off the chains. They have like a karaoke night every Wednesday. And I'm like, I finally found the place. It's karaoke night Wednesdays at this place. I go back the next week, absolutely dead. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. How is it that it's like this everywhere I go? And then I did finally find a place. It's called My Place down here. And that place was pretty much off the chains every week. But like the clientele that went there, they were all fucking like, corn-fed chicks, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I was like, fuck, I can't win for losing out here, And then now My Place is closed. Like they did some kind of embezzling or something, and they got their business shut down. But so there's literally no place to actually meet people. So it was all dating apps. It was all dating apps. And then you go on a dating app, and I don't know if it's like this for you, but for me, it was a matter of like, you go on Tinder and there's like 10 chicks,
mm-hmm.
you know, and then
mm-hmm.
you go on Match, there's 20 chicks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on Bumble and there's 5, and then you go on Hinge and there's 2. And so you basically have to be on every dating app to catch them all. Right. Yep. And that's just how you do it. You just have to literally be on every fucking possible app to cast that wide net in a rural area.
Yeah. So, in a rural area, you got to have multiple techniques that work for you. I mean, if you like Corey's book and stuff, I mean, he's like in Miami and Orlando. And I mean, you know, you go down there, if I go somewhere for the business trip and you like fire up your thing, like in a 1 mile radius, it's like, there's girls everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Here in rural country, if you do a 1 mile radius, there's no girls.
There's literally nobody. Yeah.
Zero. Right. So like you got to do like a 50-mile radius, you know, and to get enough of a coverage. Now, my area is a little different. Like your area is really spread out. My area has a bunch of like little bitty towns all over the place.
Yeah.
So like if you do like a 50-mile circle, there's like 125 little bitty towns, mm-hmm. you know, just all over the place. So, you know, you got to like know your geography and I'm up in a weird location. So like I'm close to Missouri, Arkansas, and Kansas and Oklahoma. So like if you drew a 50-mile radius, there's like girls from all over different states all around you. Mm-hmm. And so you got to like be a little bit more strategic about how you look at it. But to your point, you got to cast a wide net. So social circles or like a cold approach is also a little difficult in small towns because everybody knows you.
Yeah.
Like everybody, and that gets around real quick. Like, I mean, there's not that many, necessarily options. And so if you burn through all the 5 options in town, like everybody knows, it's like, so you've got to really be cautious about how you handle that as well.
Oh, dude, I got a nasty story about that. So I dated this one chick. I mainly just hooked up with her like twice. There was like 2 separate occasions that we ended up like meeting on the dating app, hooked up, and then split up, and then got back together like a couple months later. She's one of the chicks I've talked about her on the podcast before, where she shows up to the date dressed to the nines, and then then she shows up at my house wearing pajama pants. Like that's this chick, right? So anyway, this chick is fucked up, right? Like chick's like totally plate spinning, level. That's it. The other day, this is maybe last year sometime. My son is next door at the neighbor's kid's house, and they're playing. And one of her kids was over there playing too. And her kid was my son's age, so like 14. Well, my son's 14 now. Mm-hmm. She goes, my mom fucked your dad. And so my son comes to me and he goes, do you know what she said? I go, what'd she say? And she said that. She goes, my mom fucked your dad. And I go, why is she talking to her daughter about that kind of shit? That is so weird. Yeah. That is so weird. But that's small town fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Small town crazy, man. Small town crazy. You could write a book on that. Small town crazy girls. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, this chick, she was just red flags everywhere. Everywhere I turned around, just bad news. But man, yeah, we could go off on that forever. Did you ever try doing like social media game, like Benny's social media game? No, I thought about it a couple of times, like, I could do that, but I never have. I mean, I think it's a great idea. But that takes a little bit of time and work and like being really strategic about it. Like you got your girls and you like wait a week or so, and then you hit her DM up, and it's like you got to keep track of these, girls and friends and see if they're single and kind of stalk their Facebook a little bit. And I'm like, that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of time. That's why I didn't do it. Like, I know it works. I know there was plenty of guys in the original 3% Man group that did it and like, went under Benny's coaching and had great success and just had just a shitload of dates from it. Right. So it's a great way to do it. And Benny's not teaching that anymore. So I'm going to do a course later on this year on no cold approach in the cow pasture. And so I'm going to incorporate that into my course just so that guys have an option to do it. But I didn't do it either, specifically for that reason, because it's like, you literally have to dedicate time every night to fucking search for chicks and then add friends, and then okay, this one accepted mine, I got to keep track of this, and it's like 30 chicks a day you have to add to your pipeline, and then out of that you're creating your funnel, as you're supposed to be doing. But it's just like you're super active at it. Like, you have to dedicate time to do all this shit. Whereas like dating apps, I recommend paying for the premium version.
Right.
You pay for the premium version of some of these apps, and you don't have to do shit. You just wait until you get a notification. You go, oh, someone liked me. Let's see. Oh, she's ugly. Swipe left. Go back about my day. Right.
Go back about your day. Yep. Exactly.
And then it's like, it's no big deal. And then oh, this one, she's hot. Let's swipe right on her. Oh, cool opener. And then let's see what happens. Let's see what
happens. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great way to really do it is Benny's way of doing it, but it's just, again, it takes too much time. And I feel like I've got enough success and opportunities going on. Like I don't have the time to do that. Yeah. But yeah, speaking of courses, by the way, I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but I loved your practical law of attraction course. That was
You
great.
mean this one? No,
that. Give me a chance to plug it. I'll take my cut.
That's not why I had you on here, but
I'll take my cut after the show.
You did, I'll just give you a little kickback.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So you did take the course, right? So did you ever watch the movie The Secret or anything like that?
I haven't watched the movie The Secret. I've always been a big Power of the Subconscious Mind guy. My parents were very conservative religious people, and so, but they always talked a lot about the law of attraction, and just from a Christianity standpoint. But it was like, you have not because you ask not, right? Like that's a quote from James out of the Bible. And so it's like, ask and you shall receive, and you want to be blessed. And my parents always talk about, the abundance and blessing that they have in life, and, how abundant and how well they've been blessed all the time. Like, that's just ingrained. And I read some books like The Power of the Subconscious Mind is a good read. And so I've done some like emotion coach stuff and some of my psychological kind of work on my inner work and inner healing and stuff. And that's about, dipping into your subconscious mind and finding trapped emotions. And that we could go on a huge tangent on that, but that's really cool. And so I've kind of always been a law of attraction guy, but like when Glover talks about in his book, like having the gratification stone or gratitude stone, and he's like, him and his friend, like, you have to make yourself do it. So it's like, I always believed it, but taking it and actually applying it into life where you're doing it every day, not every once in a while, not when you want something, but applying it. I did it with my son the other day. He wanted to buy a truck. So he's been saving up, mowing yards, doing work since he was 14 years old, saving his own money. I gave him a little bit, but I said, you got it, and he worked and earned his money to buy a truck. And so he's looking all the time. And he finds one, and the guy was kind of a jerk about it and jerked him around a little bit, and the deal fell through. I said, you know what? We'll talk about this, son. I said, you need to be able to ask, believe, and receive. Like, you got to be able to do this. I was like, we're going to talk about it. We're going to, focus on the truck that you want. I said, no, you can't be like, I want a brand new truck that falls from the sky right in front of me, but you don't have to pay any money for it. Like, be realistic. Yeah. Let's put that down on paper. Let's talk about it. Let's look for it. And I said, and you'll get a feeling. And it'll be like, hey, I need to go buy this car lot over here, or I need to call this person or check my Facebook, whatever. And I said, follow through on those things, because that's the universe. That's a raindrop trying to tell you something. Yeah. So he comes home one day, literally, he just checked, walked out the door to, I don't know, do something, comes back in the door, pulls his phone out, check, bam, truck he wants, exactly, just got posted. He's the first person in line, worked out perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So it's like, I know those things work. It's funny because, like, being on your show, I put on my goal board at the very beginning of this year, and I play your show in my office.
Yeah.
The ladies aren't crazy about you, but the guys.
Tell them I said hi. No.
Yeah. I told him, I said, I want to be on this podcast. I'm going to make everybody sit in my office and you're going to listen to me because I told you all I was going to be on the show and you laughed at me and you said, oh, no way. And I said, I told you I was going to be on Paul's show. I want to, so shout out to all the people I'm making listen to this show.
Hey,
I'm the boss.
How's it going? Don't hate me. Okay. I'm actually doing good this world here. I did the same thing with Rule Zero. Did the same thing with Rule Zero.
Right. And so it's funny you talk about like raindrops and it's like, sometimes the universe gives you raindrops and sometimes it gives you hail drops. Like, I'm like, one day I'm out practicing my run. I'm listening to your show and you're like, if you haven't been on the show yet, what are you waiting for? I was like, yeah, what am I waiting for? That's a good question. It's here on my goal board. I look at it every day. Yeah. I'm like, I'll just reach out to Paul. Like for whatever reason, the universe says this is what I want to do. So,
and the 3% Brotherhood, because that's how this podcast started. It started with me asking those guys, the original group, how did they find this stuff? Like, what's your journey like? Because all of us have very similar journeys. It's very funny. A lot of guys end up in this space because they're trying to reattract an ex. That's not our story, but that's very common too. Yep. But it's like usually it's relationship or two have gone to shit and you finally are like, what am I doing wrong?
I had that conversation the other day with someone. I'm like, guys, unfortunately, if we could get every 18 to 22-year-old guy to really dig into this stuff, or maybe even 16 and on, teach this stuff to them early, we could save a lot. But guys have to have almost that origin story because we just don't listen until we get to a point that we're ready to receive. We're just too stubborn about stuff, and we've got to have that origin story or that hit bottom, that rock bottom point. We're like, okay, I've got to make a change, or else we're just not ready to receive it. Yep. Yeah. So loved your course. Great stuff. It was really, really, really worth the time. Absolutely recommend it.
So the course, and I talk about it a lot, but the course is really I try to explain it from a psychological perspective. Yep. But if you want to understand it from a more spiritual perspective, like the biblical worldview, the Master Key System is a phenomenal book about that. Yep. Because Hanel wrote that. He actually brings up actual Bible verses and talks about how that applies. So like if you're a Christian, like I always say that the law of attraction goes hand in hand with any religion because the base layer, that's usually what they're teaching at some level, Yep. And so whatever, books you want to put on top of that, Bible, Quran, or whatever, like they explain it in their own way, but they're all related. It's all the same stuff. So
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But from a psychological standpoint, it's great. I mean, I'm big into that. My sister's a psychologist. We talk about that stuff all the time. So I'm big in the psychological standpoint of it. I just grew up in a conservative, religious home, so I understand that side of it as well. It doesn't matter. However you want to come about it. I mean, the quantum physics side, I can't understand. I'm not smart enough. And so it's like, it just works. So I know this way works.
I like studying that stuff. And that's why I added the videos in the course for that to explain the quantum field theory stuff. So that shit will blow your fucking mind if you go down that rabbit hole. It's just like, are you like, this is amazing to realize that basically our thoughts, they're able to prove this. But like our thoughts impact the what we perceive as the universe around us, and our thoughts can travel at across the universe in an instant. They call it was it spooky particle theory or something? It's like it's mind blowing, this stuff, and people just like they brushed off like it's woo woo magical thinking. It's like no, man, there's actual science behind this stuff. So. Yeah, that's why I tried to break it down like that, like from a psychological perspective, because it's a lot easier to understand from that, at least from that point,
And that's a great part about your course, and you said it a bunch of times, like it's easy to understand. It's also easy to go out there and apply. Like there's you put actual steps in there to be like, okay, here's how you do it. Walk through this stuff. Take the woo stuff out of it. This is why it works. And these are the things that you need to do to make it work. And that was really helpful to me because like, I understand it all. I'm all in on it. It's just getting to the point where it's like, okay, actually sit down and make your goal card Like it's so simple to do, but it's so easy to come up with like all the, you get these stupid reasons why you don't. Your subconscious mind, we get all into that about, wanting to keep you in a safe state and not wanting you to do these things. And you got the self-limiting beliefs.
People think I'm full of shit, but I actually have like my goals. I have it taped up like right here on my monitor so I can see it, It's like,
I did the same thing with like making your list. You talked about the other day on live, like what you're looking for in a partner, in a person. I took like Dr. Glover's like pyramid of like RGWs and all that stuff, and I like wrote all this stuff. I got like a whole notebook over here written out of it, and it's easy just to kind of thumb through and focus on. Same thing with the goal cards. It's just like it's so powerful. Mm-hmm. It's like, but yet it's so simple that you're like, man, it can't work that easily, right? But it does.
There's no way.
It's like, it's no way. And so you're like, okay, there's got to be more to it. And if you just do it, like it's nothing, like you say, it's nothing unless you act. Like you have to do it. Yeah. Here's the steps. They're not hard steps, but you have to actually do it and get disciplined and do it every day and actually walk through it. And it's like, wow, it works. Like
that's one of the reasons why I say like you can make goals so big that it'll blow your mind when you achieve them. Mm-hmm. And not even big goals, right? Like I talked about in the list episode, right? Like why it's so important to have your list. And I was like, Nurse Chick literally crosses off all these lists, or like all these check marks, every single one. And the odds of that are astronomical to find a chick that literally checks off, not just the must-haves, but like all of the want-to-haves too. She's just like and then she's always working on herself too. It's like she's on her own path, and it's just like, this is fucking weird. Like this is like you ask for the stuff, and this is it'll show up. And it's not magic. It's just like your mind's just hyper aware to it.
Yeah, all those guys out there asking for your receipts, all they need to do is look at your relationship. I mean, the stuff that you post about you and Nurse Chick, it's like that's relationship goals for everybody. Like, like that's the only receipt you need.
Right. It's like, man, Ryan, have you read Frame yet?
It's on my list.
Okay.
I go down everything that your list recommendation is. So my list just keeps getting longer and longer. Kind of like you talked about before. I'm like, I'm trying to, I got this whole list I got to go down, and I'm working my way down the list. I mean, I don't know how many books I'm into now, but I try to get one a week, and so it's on my list.
Yeah, my list is retardedly long too, and I like it though. Like I was telling a guy on the live stream at the time of this recording on Wednesday, like just find your three, because he was like, I got like 30 relationship books. I was on. I'm like 30. Okay, buddy. But I've probably read that many, but it's like, I like reading that stuff, and I do get new information out of some of it,
You're like the historian of the manosphere.
I'm not, dude. Ryan Stone really is. That guy knows everything about it, and I'm just catching up, But speaking of Ryan, like his book, he has this an analogy in there, and a lot of Ryan's stuff too isn't original. Like he pulls all of his stuff from old subreddit stuff, and which is nothing wrong with that. He's just really good at explaining it. And there's like this whole concept of a bucket on your head, right? And so that everybody tries to tell you like, this is the what you need to be doing. This is what you need to be doing. And this is the key to success. Right.
Yep.
And he's like, how do you know which one's right and which one's not? Well, you look at the guy telling you to put a bucket on your head, and then you look at his life. Is his life better for having the bucket on his head? Then, okay, maybe I'll listen to him,
Yeah, 100%. It's always funny because people will be like, well, I've been married for 40 years. And I'll be like, yeah, how many of those
sex?
How's the sex? How many of those years have been good years?
Yeah.
How many would you recommend marriage? Well, no. I mean, okay. Think, how many of those 40 years have been good years? I mean, I had 17 years and I got 3 kids out of it. I mean, I consider that pretty successful, but does that mean, okay, well, you didn't, what's marriage supposed to end in death in order to be successful, right? There's only 2 ways out of a marriage. Either you got divorced or you died together. So there's not a lot of options there. So what do you consider success? And to your point, exactly spot on, is like, listen to that person telling you, look at their life. And that's a funny thing about this material is Corey says it, like, you'll look around and you'll see all these other dynamics and relationships and how these people interact, and you'll pick up so quickly on whether, she's miserable, he's miserable, they have a bad relationship, they're doing great. Look at their dynamics. And the body language and everything changes. You can just read it and see it.
Yeah.
And so as you really learn that stuff, and you can be like, oh, listen, just because you have 40 years doesn't mean you were good at it. You could be crappy at your job for 40 years. Just because you've been there a long time doesn't mean you're good at it.
I think my parents are coming up on their 50th wedding anniversary. They fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's like that. It means nothing. I was married for 14 years. The last 7 I was miserable. I fucking hated her,
Right.
So yeah, it's totally meaningless. Launch by itself, it's meaningless. But if you're together for 30 years and you're still like passionately having sex, and you're still dating, and you still like, are look forward to seeing that other person, that's a success,
Right.
But yeah, 30 years by itself.
And that, yeah, it's like time is irrelevant. Like quality is everything. And I think that's another important part about this space is like, and Corey's book's really good about that, is continuing on the relationship, right? I mean, you have to maintain frame. The relationship is your fault. You did a great little snip out the other day about her being your piece. Like, she's not your piece, dude. It's how you lead the relationship. She's going to be a direct reflection of that. So you want a quality of life. You can never stop learning this stuff. You can never stop trying to improve. You can never fall out of this stuff. Like you said before, it's why you do the podcast, so you can keep the stuff fresh. Why we read all the time. You can never stop learning. You can never rest. You're always on the path of growth. If not, you're falling backwards.
Yeah, I got the idea for that because I was watching Rule Zero from at the time of this recording. It was the last one that Ryan hosted, and I wasn't on that one because I was on a road trip. So I'm still a fan. I'm a fan of Rule Zero. So I still watch it even when I'm not on it. And they did a whole episode on basically not wanting your girl to basically be your mom,
Right.
And I think guys, when they come home and they
Great
want
stuff.
their girl to be their piece, they're literally asking this chick to be, they want approval from their mom. They want their mom to, tell them everything's going to be okay. And it's like, that's not what they're there for. And yeah, it's like, man, yeah, I was like, yeah, you're right. If you're properly leading, like, she'll treat you well, and this is part of picking a good partner too, is like, if you go into dating, testing her ability to follow and testing to see what her personality is like, and don't rush into the first chick that touches your dick, then then you'll be able to see, okay, well, I'm trying to lead and she's just not following my lead. Well, she's just not the right one then, not every chick's going to follow your lead. That's on them. That's not on you,
It's Baskin Robbins out there. Not every flavor is going to work for you. And you were spot on with that. I mean, that was one of the biggest revelations that I had, that I realized I was doing wrong, was do not make your woman your therapist or your mama. Right.
Oh, dude,
and
I did the same thing.
I was going, I was in the, divorce process, and all this stuff was ugly. And it's so easy to go negative on that. And just because you're battling it every day and just like, well, what am I going to do? Or, how do I, figure this out? I mean, like, for me, I'm a hemophiliac. And so, like, my blood doesn't clot properly. And so you can make a huge thing about that, or you can just be like, hey, it's just something I deal with. I take my medication, not a problem. Or you can be like, well, man, if I, go outside and I fall down the stairs and it's so easy to go negative with that. And that's the thing, guys, understand. You got to put a positive spin on everything. Don't bring your problems to your woman. I've got it. Doesn't mean you can't say, hey, I've had a tough day at work, but you know what? You've got to end that with the solution. You've talked about that a million times. Yeah. You've got to end everything on the positive note. You've got to have frame. You've got to have that, steady, calm presence, not get rocked. Don't let the world rock you. Dr. Glover says it great. She doesn't want you on her emotional roller coaster. Don't let her stuff rock you. Maintain. And that's something I did so poorly, especially with in the red pill chick, is like, I would just be like, just vomiting out all my problems, all my stress. My girl's going to be my partner, my significant other, and I'm going to be vulnerable, and we're going to be best friends. We're best friends, and I'm going to open up everything. And guys, I mean, save that stuff for your therapist, save it for your boys. Your boys will check you better than anybody. Get a coach. You and I kind of different.
Get on the Patreon. We have monthly hangouts. Yeah.
Monthly hangouts. That's fun. I think there's benefits to therapy. I definitely think there's benefits to coaching. Find you somebody. If you're religious, get a pastor. It doesn't matter. Find you a group. Guys, especially in today's society, really miss that quality men time. You talk about again with the group where you don't have those boys that'll check you, give you the advice, call you out. I mean, the 3% brother is great on that. And there's some stuff today that a guy's like, hey, I don't know if you saw the messages, but like today he's like, hey, my girl, I couldn't go on this trip with her, and here's what happened. And like, there's 4 or 5 of us, talking and giving, some advice on there. And it's just a great way to have discussion. Like, you need that feedback, but that you don't take your problems to your woman. And I hit myself in the head so many times when I go back over that stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was the biggest, whiniest, simpiest, emotion vulnerable person, because that's what society tells you that she wants.
Yeah. It's garbage.
And it's just garbage, guys.
Yeah. We'll wrap up here because we're like way over, but
sorry.
No, it's okay. I was talking to Nurse Chick the other day, and she was bringing me her problems, which is pretty, you sort of do want to listen to your girl's problems, but you don't want to solve her problems, right? And so I found myself and I stopped myself right here. I was like, well, you could.
Yeah.
Do you want my advice, or do you just want me to listen? I literally stopped right then. And she's read the book too. She's read 3% Man. So she knew exactly what was happening in that moment. But because she listens to the podcast, she knows about this stuff. She's reading a book right now that brother Ryan Kaufman recommended called Keys to the Kingdom by Alison Armstrong. That's like the woman's 3% Man, 3% woman. Yeah. And so I assigned it to Nurse Chick, right? And because I always say, hey, I got a book assignment for you. She's reading it right now, and she's like, my mind's fucking blown right now. Like, I understand my dad's so much better now. Like, it's like, yeah, this is great. So, but yeah. So right in that moment, I was like, do you want my advice, or do you want me to listen? And she legit thought about it for a second. She goes, I'm just venting. I just kind of want you to listen. I was like, perfect. Glad I asked.
Right. Yeah. If you don't know, ask. And then, a lot of times, she just wants to be able to open up to you. Yeah. You be solid, be a good listener. How to win friends.
It's so hard not to offer solutions, because there's always a clear solution.
So difficult, because as men, we're logical, we're problem solvers, and we want to solve our problem for our girl. Like, we want to make her feel better. We want to fix it for you. Like, that girl, Susie, is being mean to you at the office. I got a great solution for her. What I mean? Like, we want to solve the problems for her so we can take away her pain, but that's not how we got to do it. You've got to let her vent and sit there and listen and give a little bit of feedback and pay attention, because there will be a test. And
I was giving, there's like 20 guys in the group called Matt. I was giving one of the brothers, Matt, he was talking about how his girl always comes to him with problems. And he's like, look, I'm a fucking alpha. I give her solutions. I'm like, you've read the book, right? Like, I know you've read the book. The book clearly says not to give her solutions. Why are you doing that? I'm a fucking alpha. Like, no. Just take a step back for a minute.
Alphas.
That's not what she needs from you right now.
No.
No. Man, this is a great conversation. We've gone way the fuck over. Do you want people to find you online, or do you want them to just find you in the group?
Yeah, you can find me in the group. I'm not hiding anywhere. I mean, I put my name out there. So, I mean, if you ever want someone to talk to or vent to, I mean, I've been through the family court nightmares. If you ever want to talk about that, and you want some pointer to that, I mean, I don't give legal advice, but I'll definitely give you some safe space to talk to or vent about that, process. There's nothing in the family court system that I haven't been through and I don't have experience with. So, I'll be happy to find us in the 3% group, read the book. It's a good group of guys. It kind of grows, but it's at a really, it's a, good size, good group of guys, great feedback. Like I said, today we had some discussion, someone posted over in the chat and was asking, and, great way to bounce ideas off guys. Good group of people on there. So you can find me there.
Nathan's also in the Patreon, and he showed up for the last happy hour hangout, and I had a good time there. Did you have a good time? I got fucking wasted after it was over.
Yeah, it was great. You know, it was really, really good stuff. And I was like, you know, I'm going to try to be on these when I can, just to even help facilitate the conversation and be like, just talk to the guys and help it be successful. I'm like, Paul's got a great idea. I want it to be, you know, help it be successful too. You know, it's a huge reason why I support you, you know, as much as I can, because like this stuff is life changing, and just so much of this has changed my life that I, you know, how can I, you know, help out, give this message, you know, give it a bigger platform, help it get out to more guys. And so like, yeah, jump on the group, talk to the guys. Is, you know, what we talked about, all kinds of stuff, trucks, wrestling. I mean, you know, it was just good conversation. It's
a good group of dudes. There's a couple of guys in there that are a little bit shy, but it's like, that's why they're there, you know, and it's a good place. It's like, so I was like trying to pull conversations out of people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, why are you talking so much? Why don't you shut the fuck up? You know, like, you know, they're just over there sort of twiddling their thumbs. It's like, come on, guys, come on. But it's a good experience for guys to do that, because some guys are a little sort of in their shell and they need to get out of their shell a little bit. And it's a good place to do it, because you know, we're just fucking around. We're not, you know, nothing's personal. So,
you know, I mean, what is it, $10 for the Patreon to get on there? You could buy the whole year, and it's like $8.50, you know, calculate it out. I mean, you waste more money on that than on a pair of shoes. I mean, it's to get the benefit of it. And I was like, you know what, I want to support the show. How do I support Paul more? You know, it's like, I can be a Patreon member. That's, you know, that's easy to do. I can jump on the lives, talking there, you know, send a super chat, help Paul out. How do you get that message out there more? Like, I don't need to say, you guys cover everything, and your show covers anything I'd want to say. So, you know, let's get that show out there more, get the voice out there more.
Yeah. And if you ever have an idea for a show, just let me know, because I'm always like, fuck, am I gonna do a show?
Yeah.
It's hard. So when I first started the podcast, was it brother Guy was like, dude, you got to do like a 4-hour-long episode like every week, because that's what Rollo does. You know, I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm doing 4 hours. I don't. He's like, well, you can at least do like multiple episodes per week. And at the time, I was like, there's no way I'm going to come up with content like that, like multiple times per week. Like, you're getting once a week. That's it.
Right.
And then I had a conversation with Clary, and we went hiking, you know, and Clary's like, oh, you got to do live streams, you know? And I was like, fuck. All right, Clary, you know.
Why he's running up the mountain, sprinting up for his hike up the mountain here. Like, this is not a hike.
I'm dying, like, you know, marathon runner. I'm like, what the fuck is up with this guy? Yeah.
Mountain goat style on it up there. Yeah.
Clary's insane. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah. I will let you know when this comes out. Otherwise, have a good evening. Appreciate it,
man. Thank you.
Nathan, thank you so much for joining me, man. I apologize that the first time that you're on the show, because you told me that your coworkers know that you listen to the show, and you told them that like you will be on the show someday, and of course that's the episode where the audio is trash. I apologize. We'll have to do this again. You are welcome back anytime. You know what's up. You know what's up with that. All right, guys, that's all I have for this episode. We will see you guys on the live stream. But first, if you guys haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications, drop a comment, your favorite emoji. You know what to do. Follow me on social media. If you guys haven't yet, send a super chat. It's not too late. It's not too late. If you guys send a super chat now, I'll give you a shout out on social media. All right. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers. If you guys like these designs, right? If you like these designs, they're also available as merch at merch.comeonmanpod.com. You know, it's funny. You know, I'm just realizing this now, but last week's episode was an episode with my shipmate, Larry, from the Shiloh. And the funny thing is that, so this hat here, right? Red Crown Gasoline. The reason why I like this hat at all is because it says Red Crown, and that was one of the positions I sat. We talked about it in that episode. But in the Navy, I sat Red Crown on airside, and so when I saw this hat was available, I was like, oh, I'm getting that hat. Otherwise, it's kind of dumb. You know what I mean? Anyway, you know, whatever. Paul, do what you want. You do you, boo. Check out my Practical Law of Attraction course, loa.comeonmanpod.com. It's not magic. It's not chakras. It's not genies granting wishes. It's a mindset course. Get on the beer club. It's only $10 a month. You can support the show that way. And then you can be a part of a good group of dudes. And then you can hang out with all of us once a month. We get together for drinks and, over StreamYard and just talk about guy stuff. It's a good time. The last 3 have been really fun turnouts. And then finally, if you guys have any coaching, go to gumroad.comeonmanpod.com. I have two tiers basically of coaching available there. You get unlimited text access to me over Telegram. And then if you want also one-on-one like video calls, where we can really sit down and break down goals and I can, hold you accountable like the whammon. We could do that too. So that's an option as well. And then if you guys just have like a single question that you just want me to do a video on, you can go to gumroad.comeonmanpod.com too and sponsor a short video. I will make one of those for you. I've been doing those lately and they've been pretty popular. Usually people DM me on Instagram for those, but you can just go ahead and sign up yourself right here. And then we'll get that squared away for you. All right, guys. So yeah, tune into the live stream on Wednesday. Other than that, we'll see you next time.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.